At Ritual, we know what goes into the holiday season. The potluck planning, the gift giving, the spreadsheets. So this new year, take a moment for yourself with science-backed support that puts you first. So whether you're focusing on supporting foundational health with a clean vegan multivitamin or supporting your gut health with Symbiotic Plus, do it with 30% off your first month at ritual.com/podcast. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. At Ritual, we know what goes into a magical holiday season. The potluck planning, the gift giving, the spreadsheets. This new year, take a moment for yourself with simple, daily rituals that help you put your foundational health at the top of your to-do list. Rituals Essential for Women 18 Plus Multivitamin is a clinically backed multivitamin featuring 9 high-quality key essential ingredients to help you fill key nutrient gaps in your diet. Or maybe you're stressing your daily protein intake, or you want to double down on support for your gut microbiome. From plant-based essential protein to 3-in-1 pre, pro, and postbiotic strains with Symbiotic Plus, Ritual helps you focus on supporting your body after a long season of juggling everybody else. And for a limited time, do it with 30% off a 3-month supply at ritual.com/podcast. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Welcome to the Liberty Without Compromise live stream broadcast with Dan and Dawna Wilson. We are the only flim-flam-free broadcast in Kootenai County discussing our elected and appointed political officials, leaders, and political influencers right here in our county. Join in on the conversation with your questions and comments. You can type those right into the comment section on whichever platform you're watching, whether that's Facebook, YouTube, or on X. If you're joining us live, be sure to share this live stream to your page or profile. And then also you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's at the Idaho Sheriff. If you want to rewatch the program and for our Liberty Without Compromise podcast, listen and subscribe wherever you get your shows. Now here's your host, Dan Wilson.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We are a few minutes early, so we might vamp for a couple seconds, waiting for our friends to catch up if they have not already done so. We have a lot in store. There's been a lot that has taken place in just a few short days. POTUS number 47. Is it 47? 45? Yeah, 47. 47 it is. So we're going to be talking about Trump and his inauguration, his inaugural speech, as well as some of the immediate actions that he has taken. And will that secure our security and freedom/liberty right here in Kootenai County? We're going to be talking about that shortly. We're going to be talking about Chair Reagan and some things that Chair Reagan has currently going on. We're going to answer some questions. Remember, if you have any kind of a question, drop it in your box, whether you're listening to Facebook or I guess watching on Facebook. Are we doing Instagram?
No, Facebook, YouTube, or X.
Yeah. So if you have a question, drop those in and we will attempt to get to them. We're also going to talk about the FOP and the Fraternal Order of Police, and they're not happy with both Biden and Trump. So stick around. We have lots to discuss tonight.
Before we get into the nuts and bolts, I got to talk about a mistake I made.
Oh, yeah?
Okay. So if you're desperate for printer paper, I didn't even know. I get, hey, I know you can't see it. I can't hold it close enough. I did not know that they made tissue paper thickness printer paper.
Well, the question is, where did you buy that?
So do not, in desperation, run to the Dollar General. He already would have known this, and it's totally jammed the printer.
Totally jammed the printer.
Yeah, this here is your normal.
I think I'm
paper.
hoping that Trump passes an executive order that gets rid of all dollar stores. Period. Yeah. Any of you guys out there with me on this? I mean, she and I have this debate all the time. I just see it as Chinese crap. And I don't care if it's $1 or not, it's still crap at the end of the day.
Well,
so, I don't know.
Some of the items, they're available in other stores for a higher price. And then you can head right on over to the Dollar Tree and get that item for your $1.25. Nothing's $1 anymore.
Yeah.
we're at $1.25.
Well,
Maybe Trump can change that too.
What you can do is you can save the money or use the money that you're saving rather at the dollar store, and you can put it in the offering plate. Maybe at one of the Power Player pastors' church.
So tithe the money that you save on your trips because of your trips to the Dollar General or Dollar Store. I'll tell you where you don't want to buy eggs. You don't want to buy eggs from Dollar General. Do not be deceived.
How much are they?
Well, I want to say they were $9 a dozen.
At the dollar?
At Dollar General.
Makes no sense if it's a dollar store and they're $9.
They're getting you on the you're getting Dollar General and Dollar Tree mixed up.
Let's remind the folks that we also have the Liberty Without Compromise podcast. You can find that on iHeart, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts. We've just completed 9 episodes of Power Player Pastors right here in Kootenai County. If you're in this region, whether it's right here in Kootenai County, Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls, Eastern Washington, you don't want to miss this. You're going to find out that some of your local pastors who claim the loudest, patriotism to their congregates and are extremely involved politically right here in the area are not exactly what they seem, and they need to be held accountable. So listen to those. We have several, I don't know, what are they, about 10 hours, 7, 8 hours?
Cumulatively.
Like
yeah. But, drive to and from work, you'll get that cranked out pretty quick. You want to subscribe to that.
Yeah.
We had our first comment coming in from X, and Pat said, Reagan the coward.
Reagan the coward.
That was a comment on something you said at the beginning of the program.
Yeah.
A provocative statement.
If you're not following us on X, go over to X, formerly Twitter.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
And follow the Idaho Sheriff, Dan Dawna Wilson. We have a lot of discussions going on over there right now, and we are currently broadcasting on live YouTube and Facebook. So, all right. This week, it finally came and went without any kind of major catastrophe. We didn't have it being what?
Well, everybody probably knows, but you said it finally came and went.
I was waxing on. There. Donald J. Trump was sworn in on, I guess it was Monday at noon Eastern time, and became the 47th president of the United States. Now, a lot of people have been anxiously awaiting this date, concerned for a host of reasons, not only for the safety of the president. There's been several assassination attempts, and they kept changing venues at the last minute from outside to inside, various venues. But he finally got it done. In fact, I thought the best looking one of the bunch was Melania.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she looked absolutely classic, like she walked out of a 1940s movie.
Yeah. The thing that gets me is everybody entrenching themselves in the symbolism.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess I'm Illuminati too or something, because frequently
you stand like
when I stand... And
I always call that.
I had no idea.
In broadcasting newscasts, I always called it diamond hands.
Yeah.
It's just the relaxed position when you're presenting.
So Trump, without any kind of major event, was able to I guess I was going to say put his hand on the Bible, but we know that he didn't do that. And that's a conspiracy now too, apparently.
But Bob Norris pats the Bible twice after he.
Yeah, that is true.
I meant to have that clip for the show tonight.
Well, you were slacking.
Yeah.
So anyway, Trump was finally sworn in, and he gave a pretty interesting inaugural speech or address to the people. I have a couple highlights from that. I want to talk about it because, we are seeing a major shift in America from what was the last 4 plus, I would actually use COVID 2020, the past 5 years in this country, and a lot of tyranny, an awful lot of tyranny. In fact, 1776 level tyranny. Those that followed me on my sheriff campaign know that I frequently discuss the fact that our country has become the enemy of the people. The federal government especially. Well, it looks like we may have a slight reprieve on that. We're going to read a couple of the quotes from Trump's speech, and these are just some ones that I thought were interesting and worth noting. We can talk about them a little more. He says, from this day forward, our country will flourish and be respected again all over the world. We'll be the envy of every nation, and we will not allow ourselves to be taken advantage of any longer. During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, I think that is a very good thing. He goes on, our sovereignty will be reclaimed, our safety will be restored, the scales of justice will be rebalanced, the vicious, violent, and unfair weaponization of the Justice Department and our government will end. We know this to be true. All you have to do is look at what they did to Trump, the lawfare that they used against him and others across this country. We're just talking about him now. The FBI should be smashed into, I've said this over and over again, 1,000,000 pieces. I have absolutely zero respect or use for the FBI. Number 5, he says, and our top priority will be to create a nation that is proud, prosperous, and free. America will soon be greater, stronger, and far more exceptional than ever before. Okay. This is, typical, I wouldn't say rhetoric, but you would expect something like this in an inaugural speech. Number 19, the journey to reclaim our republic has not been an easy one. That I can tell you. Those who wish to stop our cause have tried to take my freedom and indeed to take my life. Now, right here, the journey to reclaim our republic has not been an easy one. I'm not certain that we are really regaining or reclaiming our republic. If we don't have Congress doing what they're supposed to do, the low T GOP, Trump's not going to get much done. We saw that in his first term. I mean, he had continual obstruction by, Republican representatives and senators and all the admins. So, again, it sounds good. We'll see if it really happens or not. Today, I will sign a series of historic executive orders. With these actions, we will begin the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense. It's all about common sense. Okay. I like that. We don't have a lot of common sense in this country. First, I will declare a national emergency at our southern border. That is a good thing. All illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came. We will reinstate my Remain in Mexico policy. I will send troops to the southern border to repel the disastrous invasion of our country. Under the orders I signed today, we will also be designating the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. And by invoking the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, I will direct our government to use the full and immense power of federal and state law enforcement to eliminate the presence of all foreign gangs and criminal networks bringing devastating crime to U.S. soil, including our cities and inner cities. What do you think of that? Yeah. With my actions today, we will end the Green New Deal, which is global communism, by the way. And we will revoke the electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto industry and keeping my sacred pledge to our great American auto workers. That one does not hurt my feelings at all. You know, I've driven some electric vehicles. They're, I guess, cool, but they're just not my thing. I don't know. What do you think about electric cars?
I think they probably have more cons than pros. Yeah. I've seen a social media video of a girl bawling because she wanted her Toyota back after she felt sucked into it. They look pretty, but had her in tears. The drawbacks.
Yeah. To restore competence and effectiveness to our federal government, my administration will establish the brand new Department of Government Efficiency. I think they call that DOGE, Doge. So that's going to be interesting to watch whether or not he's actually able to get that rolling. And hopefully, if he does, it will be run and continue to be ran by folks that truly are serious about gutting all of the unnecessary government and employees and policies and whatever that is gumming up our works. After years and years of illegal and unconstitutional federal efforts to restrict free expression, I will also sign an executive order to immediately stop all government censorship and bring back free speech to America. Here's one that I'm a absolute stickler on, and that is the right to free speech. We saw the FBI and the DOJ leveraging right after and during the election, but more so after, especially after January 6th, Facebook and all the other platforms censoring Americans' free speech. And they called things disinformation or what were some of the other terms that they used?
There's disinformation, misinformation.
Yeah. And I think that anytime as Americans that we give a green light to the government coming into any sector and telling those people to restrict the American people's expression, that's absolutely un-American. It's against the First Amendment. And those people that were involved with that really should be investigated, arrested, and I think charged and tried. There were zero that I can tell people that were involved in all the crap in 2020, whether it was a COVID scam or whether it was the stolen election. Any of those people have not paid the price for the tyranny that they exhibited. And I'm a big, firm believer that we need to hold these folks accountable. And hopefully X and others will allow us to continue to speak. And it's up for the people to decide whether or not what the next guy is saying is crap or credibility. I don't believe everything I see. I see a lot of stuff. In fact, I told you just the other day, the one thing that I'm really getting tired of is a post on X. And here's a picture of something and it says, "What do you notice?"
Yeah.
What do you notice? I mean, I'm thinking I should do that. Maybe I'll get more views.
Yeah, and there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to do a couple more and then we'll move on. After years and years of illegal, unconstitutional federal efforts to restrict free expression, I will also sign an executive order to immediately stop all government censorship and bring back free speech to America. Can't say that enough again. Under my leadership, we will restore fair, equal, and impartial justice under the Constitution of law, and we're going to bring law and order back to our cities. We have two tiers of justice in this country, and don't believe me, when was the last time somebody famous truly paid the consequences for their illegal activities? I can't name one. And especially if you're in Congress, other than Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro, who defied a subpoena, probably an illegal subpoena, and were found in contempt of Congress and served 4 months, I think, each. And yet, our gutless low-T GOP, Jim Jordan, Mr. All Talk, No Action, Trey Gowdy 2.0, when did these guys ever find anybody in contempt and give out the same equal treatment? Now, when it comes to those of us that are citizens that are of no notoriety, we do something and we violate the law, especially the federal government comes down harshly, severely. You can't fight them, and you pay the ultimate consequences. The lawfare against the average man, and we're going to talk about this in a few seconds with January 6th, is extensive. And we have had for far too long 2 tiers of justice in this country. The founders would not have put up with it. So the entire speech was good to listen to. I understand it is what it is. We'll see what he does after these first 90 days. He came out hot, and some of the things that he did right off the bat with his executive orders. Of course, we talked about the fact that he closed down the border. I've heard that he is sending about 1,500 troops down to our border. They may help do the construction on it. He got us out of the World Health Organization. Do you think that's a good thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's a very good thing. They were the source of a lot of violations on our liberty because we had stupid leaders, stupid representatives that bought off on the WHO lie. The WHO is nothing more than another global communist organization that is completely irrelevant and not in the best interests of the American people.
I think also that the app being used for the illegal immigration was immediately shut down.
Yeah, CBP
so
one.
Those were some interesting shots to see of people wailing when they no longer, their appointments were canceled.
Yeah. Now, look, I personally, my heart does go out to those that had hoped to be here. And I get it. You're from another country and you thought you were going to come over here to the land of milk and honey. I don't blame people wanting to do that. But we have to be a nation of laws, and the abuses have been far too many for far too long. And yeah, it's going to be tough. If Trump really does what he says he's going to do with the new border czar, Tom Homan, and completely vacate this country of every illegal individual, there's going to be a lot of headlines, a lot of pictures of extremely miserable, heartbreaking, images that we're going to see. But it is necessary for the good of this country if we are going to maintain our border, language, and culture. So
you've got there was a nurse on social media again today. I don't have this resource sitting here, but she knows that she's got illegals in the hospital where she works, and she is basically giving a middle finger to Trump, saying, or ICE, if you come in here, I think her quote was, "I'll show you why I'm my dad's daughter." I don't know that she's anybody of notoriety, but is looking for her 15 minutes that she's going to stand
I'd like
up.
to go back on her social media and find out if she was one of those ones that said if you wouldn't take the vaccination that you don't deserve any medical care and you deserve to die. So
Might go hand in hand. Yeah.
Some of these things tend to, as you say, go hand in hand. Now, the whole argument about deportation, that's going to be a massive, massive program to roll out. And it's going to require all local law enforcement. Now, I'm curious whether or not Bob Norris, sheriff of Kootenai County, the one that I lost to again in February, I keep saying February, in November of 2024, if he's going to finally acknowledge the fact, because he wants to be famous and popular and look like, he's part of the Trump team, if all of a sudden he's going to roll out all of his deputies, including D.C. Matari, so that they can round up all of the invaders right around here that he's claimed for years don't really exist. What do you think?
There's a likelihood he's going to ride on the coattails somehow without having made a plan to secure our county, regardless of what the outcome of this election has been. I mean, that just shows he hasn't led the way. And I think so, whatever, if it is a path of least resistance and his constituents aren't griping because they like Trump, then that's a route he'll go. I think that's what he's proven.
We are going to hold him accountable, though. He did not even know what ICE 287G was as of August of last year. So I don't think that we know that he never had a plan, but you're right. He will definitely ride on the coattails. In fact, I think he was in D.C. We heard with his billionaire buddy just this past week for the inauguration.
He's hobnobbing. I want to remind everybody who's watching, whichever platform, Facebook, YouTube, or X, leave a comment. We can share it up on the screen, respond to it if you've got a question. So help us engage in this conversation and discussion by doing that.
Yeah. So one of the great things that he did within the first few days of his presidency is to free 1,500 January 6 defendants and commute the sentences of, 16 thereabouts. So we've got a lot of people that are very, very upset about this. As you well know, if you followed me for more than the past 6 months or 3 months or however long, that I'm passionate about the fact that our J6 defendants were overcharged and denied many of them their due process. And I believe that this was a great thing to do. However, the Fraternal Order of Police and the, who are they? The International Association of Chiefs and Police, they put out a statement just a few days ago regarding this blanket pardon. So we're going to go ahead and read that up here. Slide number 2. The International Association of Chiefs of Police and the Fraternal Order of Police have had a long-standing and positive relationship with both President Trump and President Biden and have greatly appreciated their support of the policing profession. However, the ICE, ACP, and FOP are deeply discouraged by the recent pardons and commutations granted by both the Biden and Trump administrations to individuals convicted of killing or assaulting law enforcement officers. The IACP and FOP firmly believe that those convicted of such crimes should serve their full sentences. Crimes against law enforcement are not just attacks on individuals or public safety, they are attacks on society and undermine the rule of law. Allowing those convicted of these crimes to be released early diminishes accountability and devalues the sacrifices made by courageous law enforcement officers and their families. When perpetrators of crimes, especially serious crimes, are not held fully accountable, it sends a dangerous message that the consequences for attacking law enforcement are not severe, potentially emboldening others to commit similar acts of violence. The IACP and FOP call on policymakers, judicial authorities, and community leaders to ensure that justice is upheld by enforcing full sentences, especially in cases involving violence against law enforcement. This approach reaffirms our commitment to the rule of law, public safety, and the protection of those who risk their lives for our communities. Well, FOP and IACP, I note that you brought both Biden and Trump in, and I'm not going to say that I disagree entirely with what your statements, what you just stated. If you severely injure a law enforcement officer while they are performing their official duties, there must be consequences for that. I was a cop for 12 years. I understand that one pretty well. But when it comes to this statement, here is why, to me, this is a political hit piece. There was no distinguishing between those pardons that Biden participated in and granted. And he did grant cop killers their freedom, those that had murdered cops in cold blood. Trump, on the other hand, freed 1,500 defendants. And we know that the January 6th was most likely perpetrated by the FBI and Homeland Security and possibly Capitol Police. We heard from Christopher Wray's testimony, the former director of the FBI, that they had over 26 assets there. We've known from almost the very beginning, when you saw characters like Ray Epps and Scaffold Man, we knew that it was a Fed op going on. And then, of course, there's the pipe bomb that magically appeared at the DNC and that they haven't been able to locate, but they could locate everybody else. And the reality of it is that we just talked about this 2 tiers of justice. You, the feds did an egregious thing when you threw down everything and you blew this whole event up to the level of 9/11. When you took agents off of human child sex trafficking to go after mothers and fathers that trespassed on the Capitol grounds. We're not talking about those that entered into violent or destructive actions. But you took your entire resources, and including, my credit card with Alaska Airlines, which was Bank of America, because Bank of America, those communist asses, decided that they wanted to help the FBI, and without any kind of a warrant, started disclosing to the FBI credit card statements and purchases that were made by those that were in DC. So the fact of the matter is that the overreaction by the Department of Justice and the FBI was so egregious that you took any credibility away that you had. You detained people without due process, some for over 15, 16 plus months. And the crimes that folks were charged with, the Supreme Court later on, in fact, it was just last year, finally ruled in the Fisher decision that a lot of those charges, some people already pled guilty to them, were wrongly applied. So we don't know who those actors were that were truly causing destruction. And I think those that were breaking windows out and destroying property absolutely should be looked at on a case-by-case basis. I'm going to guess that a lot of those were probably Antifa, BLM, and or federal agents. And I've seen the videos. I've seen the videos as well of officers up on top firing into the crowd, impact weapons and their gas. So there was no chance of de-escalation. We look that doors and gates were opened up. Folks were ushered in by the Capitol Police. So the Capitol Police, this whole thing's a mess. Let's talk about the lie of police officers dying that day from protesters.
I was going to ask you because,
not true.
Yeah, you can't say this enough. How many police officers died on that day?
None. In fact, Sisnick, I think it was, they never determined. He died at his house, I believe, of a stroke or a heart attack.
But yet they're still propagating that lie.
Look,
it was on X
Post,
yesterday.
Yeah, the Washington Post already cleared this up years ago. But those that want to keep arguing, keep propagating the lie. And when I look at the murder of Ashley Babbitt, I mean, think about at the same time frame, within months, they were destroying the Capitol and the church, firebombing right across from the Capitol. Where do you see the trial for those people that were involved with actually firebombing a church? Where do you see the massive arrests and folks being held without due process that burned down Minneapolis or assaulted the Portland federal building, the federal courthouse, for over 100 nights, or took over 10 city blocks of Seattle with Chaz and Chop? So, yeah, I think that FOP, you guys are completely disconnected from reality. It shows that you're a national organization, you're elitist, when you can't understand that the American people are sick and tired of the two tiers of justice, no due process. We're tired of entrapment that's taking place by law enforcement. So, unfortunately, out of 1,500, maybe, I don't know what percentage is, legitimately should be behind bars. But when you go down that, by partaking in the poisonous fruit of the tree of the poisonous fruit, so to speak, that is when you throw everything out, and you have to throw it out in mass. So, yeah, I'm not sorry at all. In fact, I think there's some that are still waiting behind bars, those that were protesting at abortion clinics. And, the DOJ under Merrick Garland was heinous. It might as well have been called the American Gestapo. So, but I'm not surprised that the FOP has this position because, again, they're more globalist. They're not really for the people. And I wonder if the newly formed FOP Lodge 43 in Kootenai County.
Right.
That Sheriff Bob Norris is a member of. What is his position on this? Is he going to buck FOP National, or is he going to agree with them? And we publicly want to ask that question, Sheriff Bob Norris.
Well, when you've got something funding your local campaign, it's kind of hard to buck their narrative and risk losing that financial support.
Well, I'm curious if Neil Uhrig, who was a former Post Falls police officer, now works for Secret Service, and president, or I think he's the president of the FOP in I want to say Portland. Post Falls.
Yeah. I don't want to get it wrong.
So is Neil agree with this statement, or is he going to buck the?
We should have called him and asked him.
I think we just publicly asked him.
Before we move on to our next segment, I think we've got something Ranch podcast, but I want to put in a word from our sponsor tonight.
Sounds
so
good.
We'll be back in just a minute. Light up that cigar. Stella's Stogies is your one-stop shop for all things cigars. Located on historic Main Street in Spirit Lake, Stella's Stogies believes that there's nothing quite like enjoying a good cigar with friends. That's why they're there to help you pick the perfect cigar. Stella's has a great selection of cigars, cigar accessories, and information about cigars, making it easy for you to find just what you're looking for. Owners Brad and Lisa are passionate about cigars and are committed to providing you with the best possible cigar shopping experience. They believe that a good cigar is a great way to relax and socialize, and they're excited to share their love of cigars with you. Stella's also does pop-up shops for events, so be sure to ask them about that. Mention that you heard about Stella's Stogies on the Liberty Without Compromise live stream and get 10% off your purchase. Learn more at stellasstogies.com. All right, it's all yours.
I went up to Stella's this weekend, and I picked up 2 new sticks.
You made it in.
I did. Yeah.
And they were just at I think it's a wedding show that
Bridal
they do.
show.
Bridal
show in Coeur d'Alene. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
So I can tell you
Pretty
that
cool event.
They finally got my favorite foundation cigars, the Olmec. And man, I don't know. It might be my most favorite smoke of 2025.
Nice.
2025.
Angela left a comment from our previous segment, Blake Stone's ratio. It's better that 10 guilty persons escape than 1 innocent suffer. So
I agree. I totally agree with that. And, I think that in our age of television where we have multiple cop shows on at any time, Law and Order, we get this kind of warped perception because we see so often in these shows the bad guys. And we have the ability, because we're watching a TV show, to know that they're bad guys, know that they did the bad things. And therefore, we kind of, in our minds, justified if a cop in one of those shows or a prosecutor stretches things just a little bit just to convict a guy, because after all, we know, as if we're God watching this, that, the bad guys did the bad things. But Angela brings up a very, very good point, and that is in our form of government, in our form of justice, it is imperative that the government is able to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that somebody committed a crime and is guilty of it. We're far more likely, as you said, to let one guilty guy out versus and what was the saying? I've lost it. She said
that 10 guilty persons escape or go free rather than 1 innocent suffer. And always imagine yourself on that side of being innocent, or if you've ever been in the local judicial system and have been on the receiving end of an unfair practices in that arena.
And the government can squash you. I mean, the government is supposed to protect people's rights.
Well, think about committees that they are not elected officials. They're hired committee members. They can write reports and really mess you up in court.
Yeah. 100%. So yes, you're exactly right. And that's hard for some of us to wrap our minds around because we like justice as well. And we want to see evil people suffer for their evil deeds and people that misbehave that need some correction. Nobody that has ever had something stolen from them, whether it's their house burglarized or their car, want somebody to skate. We want justice, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, you don't want to find yourself wrongfully convicted. Did you know Idaho has brought back the firing squad?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. That's been a big talk lately. You know, there's a lot of problems with the lethal injections and chemicals being hard to obtain, and some pharmaceuticals or suppliers don't want to give certain drugs because they know that it's going to be used to end somebody's life. So yeah, the state of Idaho is ramping up on the public shooting executions. I think that they should be forced to use local ammo sourced right out of Idaho. We have some really good ammo manufacturers right here.
I'm like, how are you going to stick that landing?
Right? Yeah, right. I mean, it is what it is. So,
ooh, good one.
Yeah. Okay, so you were going to bring us the question of the night from Twitter.
If I can find it.
Kevrick.
Okay.
Kevrick.
Yeah, putting that
My
up there.
autocorrect misspelled his name, but it's Kevrick.
All right. So, question of the night. Hello, Dan. I was listening to the Peter and Ginger Bregan podcast yesterday. Did you know whether geoengineering is occurring in Idaho to increase the amount of snowcap for better water yields? It is a corporate government joint effort. The process is likely toxic to humans.
Yeah. So, Kevin, thanks for dropping that question. Yes, I am aware of this. I can't tell you the exact science behind it. Where I first confirmed it was through a Idaho podcast by I think it's Matt Todd. Forgive me if I got your name wrong, but it's the Ranch podcast, and he had a lady on named Cresta Davis. She's the senior manager of water resources for Idaho Power, and she talked about this very thing. Now, I agree with you. I don't want any of our skies sprayed with anything. I don't know the difference between what they're doing now versus chemtrails, who, you know, I was not even certain that chemtrails existed prior to this last year. And then it was undeniable. I just could not miss the skies continually over Idaho being crisscrossed with these contrails or whatever they're calling them. I guess they don't call them. Do they call them contrails? Chemtrails. Thank you. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, I'm very concerned. In fact, we're in good company. The state of Tennessee and I believe it was New Hampshire both passed bills that do not allow anything to be sprayed in the skies above their states. But let's go and listen to this segment from the Ranch podcast on this very topic. Cresta Davis is the one who's going to be speaking in this, and you can find this episode on YouTube under The Ranch Podcast. You don't want to miss it.
Cloud seeding in and of itself is really, it's augmenting the winter storms that are already coming through our territory, our area. So we're augmenting those systems, trying to just coax more precipitation out as systems pass by. We do it in a couple of ways. We have ground generators that we operate. So depending on the type of storm, we'll utilize that resource, or we use an airplane to deliver a seeding agent. And what that seeding agent does is it basically coaxes more precipitation that already exists in the clouds as they're passing to accumulate to a particle. And it's that accumulation that then allows that precipitation to exit the cloud as the clouds pass by, and it exits in the form of snow.
So what she in essence is claiming is they're using silver iodide, and they're using two delivery methods to the environment. One is through, I think they said fans or generators, and from airplanes, with the intent of not making it rain, but to add snowpack is what she's saying. I don't know the science behind it. They claim they've been doing it for years. Anybody out there that knows what silver iodide does or doesn't do to the environment, drop a comment in. I'm going to look into it more. I've been a big proponent of this state, Idaho, and I haven't seen any legislation admitted yet online that states that they're doing it, and they should be doing it post haste.
And if a couple of states have been successful in blocking that from happening, there's hope to make that happen.
Yeah, I agree. Look, after COVID, everything changed. We know that there are entities out there governmental agencies and shadowy government agencies and organizations that want to kill people. And we've seen it through the botched response to COVID and the pandemic and the clot shots. So yeah, I would not be a bit surprised to see the chemtrails, we get it right, not contrails, chemtrails are being thwarted upon us in order to make people ill or maybe more docile. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Well, and we know they're blocking the sun. I mean, there's other more obvious
they talked
effects.
About it.
Yeah.
But I want to ask Idaho legislators right now. Again, if one has already been introduced into legislation, I'll stand corrected. But I don't understand why y'all have some of these priorities that really right now don't matter. There are more important things like this to protect our skies and protect our health and safety here, right here.
Give me an example, because I think I know.
Well,
one that you're thinking. You don't
the
wanna
reason
get
I'm
into
not
it.
going to is because I can't quote the exact bill.
Okay.
But yes, and I may do that next week. But
right.
Yeah, I don't want to be spreading anything that I can't back up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that we should be protecting our skies. And this whole thing with Robert Kennedy and making America healthy again, it's hard to tell what's rumors versus what isn't. Now we supposedly were introduced yesterday to the fact that they're going to start these programs, AI programs called Stargate. You're going to spend $500 billion and they're going to be able to tell you through AI what kind of mRNA vaccine that you need. And I say, no, thanks. I don't want any part of it. So, it seems to be, we hear one thing with the fact that Kennedy's going to get rid of like Roundup and other harmful chemicals that they're adding to our foods and start putting standards. I don't know how much of that is made up by people on the internet, but then they'll go from that right back to saying, well, take an injection and we're going to be able to make you live forever. So,
well, and that's why it's so important on personally that you cannot just fully invest in a person, in people elected into these positions or your president, that it's every single thing they're doing, it is 100% going to be the right thing. You always have to be prepared that at any point in time, there's deception that can occur.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's something that you have to have your mind ready to accept.
Yeah.
To ever get into the place where you think, okay, Trump's got the team and that any member of this team can do no wrong. And I mean, I would say even Trump learned that the first time around, that there were people who gave him bad advice that they were acting as his trusted sources at that time and gave him bad advice.
Yeah.
And then you got to move forward from that, which, I don't.
Well, none of us truly knows what any of these electeds, what their intents are.
You don't.
We just don't. There is no way for us. We can only watch actions and decide from those actions, good or bad.
Yet somehow people claim to be experts and think that they do. When, I mean, let's face it, we can't even stay on top of why people in our own households do what they do or why our kids do what they do. And so to think that somebody that you don't have a personal relationship with, you can just make one judgment call on all their actions are going to be to the positive and the right thing.
That's why it's important to pay more closer attention to local government,
yes,
state government, and local county government.
Because you can be in the same room with these people. There are things you can learn about deception when you're watching body language, looking into somebody's eyes, looking at who they're flashing looks to across the room, which of your elected officials are engaging in those type of manners. Those are things you have power to do something about.
Yeah. Now, speaking of local, here in the next week or so, we're going to be discussing Kootenai County's emergency operation plan and all the hubbub that has occurred. Now, I'm going to give you a quick little teaser. We have some local celebrity pastor that is up in arms over the language of this policy right here in Kootenai County. What I find fascinating about it is that this plan is actually more condensed, but still follows the basis, those areas that the celebrity pastor and now apparently the sheriff is on board, is upset about. This is the same policy that was enacted all the way back in 2018. In fact, it follows Idaho state law. I'm a man of liberty. Everybody
because you
knows.
looked into that. You said, why are they reacting to this now?
Mm-hmm.
Is this something rewritten, updated, new? And then you looked in, well, what was it before?
Well, I mean, it's virtually, I mean, they're very similar documents. They've obviously been changed a little bit as far as their emergency procedures, continuity of government, but the sticking points are virtually the same that they were in 2018 when it was passed by 3 county commissioners at that time. Now, this time in 2024, August to be exact, this emergency operation plan, which, you know, it's trickled down, folks. You have federal legislation that requires emergency management, FEMA. Each state has to adopt it, and then the states delegate it down to the county. It's mostly about disaster response and the federal government bailing people out of problems is really what it amounts to. I mean, there's depending on which version, 250 versus 500 pages. And those that know me know that I'm a huge advocate of liberty, so I'm not going to negate people's concerns, but it seems like a lot of grandstanding right now. We're going to break it down in greater detail to go over what a local attorney who ran for, I think he ran for Secretary of State 2 times ago. He wrote a 25-page dissertation on it. And but it all boils down to this. The sheriff of Kootenai County is the one responsible for emergency management. And he places the director. And this entire policy has to be reviewed by the sheriff. So I'm curious why the sheriff all of a sudden is up in arms when it was his own underlings that wrote this draft, that published it, and then his own special deputy, DC Tari, county commissioner, signed off along with Leslie Duncan, county commissioner, and Jen Locke had her signature on it too.
I'm telling you what, we had a fire out in our area. I'm not feeling too confident about our sheriff's department ability to respond to emergencies locally with a fire we had. I don't remember if it was a year ago
It was
or
in
what,
2023
out in Athol area. And I mean, the response to that small fire was the disaster.
Yeah.
That was the disaster.
It was, but that was mostly women in their horse trailers.
And actually, I'm not saying. Let me clarify because it was women blocking in and out roadways.
Going
the
opposite direction, by the way.
We don't know. Save the horses. I want to clarify though. The disaster response had nothing to do with the fire department's response. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking more about road blocking and traffic redirecting. I just want to clarify because I'm not ripping on those guys.
And we'll have to share more about our experience with the folks that were 3 miles away from a fire that was burning away from them, deciding they had to clog up the roads with their horse trailers and there was no direction. I got put into a bottleneck where I was told to drive this route, got to the end of the route, and they said it's closed, go back where you came. A lot of confusion. But yes, right now there seems to be a lot of virtue signaling going on.
And there's a reason.
Yeah.
That's why it's important to talk about, because there's a reason that they're bringing it to light now. And knowing that it's getting through social media, it's getting people all whipped up.
Yeah.
So what's the reason?
And we're going to talk about that most likely next week. I was waiting for a couple more records requests to come through. They finally came through tonight. Didn't have enough time to get them ready for tonight's show, but you're not going to want to miss. I think we're going to do that next week.
Okay.
We're probably going to dedicate the majority of next week to talk about that very topic. Now, also local government. Something interesting, the Idaho Dispatch. If you don't subscribe to the Idaho Dispatch, I would highly encourage you to do so if you live in Idaho. There was a breaking story on January 21st. The Idaho Secretary of State's office issues 9, that's the number 9 fines in 2024.
Oh, this is a good one.
According to the Idaho Secretary of State's office, they issued 9 fines based on complaints filed in 2024. So this dates from January 1, 23 through December 31, 2024. So virtually almost 2 years. And in that, out of all the complaints, they have 10 that are currently open, but they had, I think it was, there's 9 that they took action on. So wouldn't you know that in November 15th of 2024, chairman of the Kootenai County Republican Central Committee, and I think he's also the chairman of the Idaho Freedom Foundation, that bastion of freedom himself, Mr. Brent Reagan, was fined $1,000 for improperly reporting an expenditure and exceeding the contribution limit to a candidate.
You know what's funny is that one spot on this website page, I cannot get the Google ad to move off of the top
refresh the
of
page.
It. So
refresh the page. So yeah, Chair Reagan, rather, of the KCRCC, $1,000 fine. And I'm curious who he overgave to, or the organization, because he might just be the person that's the one representing, but the organization overcompensated. And, you know, I think it's funny when they put out that recommendation, that thing costs what, $80,000-$90,000 to mail out throughout the entire county. And when you put candidates on it, how do you proportionally divvy out when you can only maximum give X amount per person? You know, they're part of the organization. I'm always curious how that really works, because if they were to declare the true value, if you were to take however many candidates divided by 90,000, far more than the $1,000 limits. But I know there's always some kind of a loophole to go through, including the loophole that Bob Norris apparently received, that the Secretary of State's not going to ding him, and the Deputy Sheriff's Association PAC, the FOP 43 PAC, where back in the primary, Bob Norris admitted to allowing the PAC, he's their boss, he allowed the PAC to use the Kootenai County Sheriff's dropped off.
There we go.
I don't know if we've dropped off or not.
No, it says, I don't know what happened.
Who knows?
We got gremlins tonight.
Anyway, but yeah, Bob Norris allowed the FOP to use county property. So it's a PAC. PAC can't collude with a campaign. And yet Bob Norris apparently skates by on everything that he does. Nobody holds him accountable. Stan Mortensen, the prosecuting attorney, absolutely will not hold him accountable. We haven't seen Stan hold him accountable on anything, even when it came to using county property to intimidate a woman who filed a tort claim and then a lawsuit against him for actions that he allegedly took in April at a town hall. So
the feed did drop there for 30 seconds or so, but we're back. Terry said, welcome back. I don't know.
Welcome back.
I don't know what's going on.
I wonder how that'll work on our YouTube. You're going to have to join them together.
Yeah.
So, yeah, anyway, Chair Reagan, if you need a good accountant, I can get you a name or two to help you with those little accounting errors. All right. Well, that's about all I have for this week. I don't know if we have any outstanding questions now that we've dropped.
They just said welcome back. Oh, okay. I think everybody was a little worried.
Yeah.
What?
Well, we got censored. We got censored by the government, the FBI.
Why don't you tell us about Freedom Elements here for a minute, and then I'll work our
Freedom Elements. I'm wearing one of Darren's shirts tonight. Darren became a friend of mine back during the pandemic. Found him on Instagram. Saw his apparel that was freedom based, and really loved his messages. So. I want you guys, if you get a chance, go to freedomelements.com. Check out all of the great graphic t-shirts that he has. I'm wearing the Appeal to Heaven. They're outstanding t-shirts. I think he uses.
You have this one too.
The new level, next level. Yeah, next level.
Yeah, they're the nice soft ones. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, Terry, you guys will like the next level shirts that Darren has.
Yeah. So go check out Darren. Look at what he has, buy his gear. He is a great man based out of Utah. And I just like to promote folks that are patriots, people that are like you and me, those that are listening out there and watching. We got to support each other. If you get a chance, go out and also support my friend Mike out at at the Patriot Hangout in Coeur d'Alene.
Yeah.
And, Mike has been doing the Trump parades since, 2020? Thereabout?
Yeah, he can tell us if we're
and
wrong.
we participated in a few back in late October. I think there was up to 60, 70 vehicles that joined us that one Saturday. I mean, it was huge.
Yeah, it was a big,
I read in the paper just 2 days ago, and the Coeur d'Alene Press, which, by the way, they're not really interested in real reporting. If anybody wants to know that, they don't really care about reporting against anything that's corrupt in this town, just saying.
They just decide what the news is.
Yeah.
They just decide it.
And they're too close with the chamber, and they're all like buddy-buddy. So anyway, so Mike was having these parades right here in Kootenai County, and right after, I guess it would have been the day of the inauguration. So what is that, Monday? Mm-hmm. He'd already planned to have another large rally. And wouldn't you know it, but a small sect of the KCRCC, those that do not like...
Are you telling the Mean Girl story? You're telling the Mean Girl story.
Those that have nothing to do with Mike and the Trump parade all of these years, unless it's, Norris who interjects himself at the very last day and decides that he's got to move in on it. Couldn't have anything to do with the local patriots before that. But apparently this small segment started their own parade from a different location. The Coeur d'Alene Press just so happened to get word that this small little faction was going to do their parade. And guess who they joined up with? They joined up with Mike and his group. And I don't think, reading in the paper, they gave Mike one bit of recognition.
So on TikTok, we call that a dupe.
A dupe?
So Mike Marquardt has the original Trump train in Kootenai County and has broken records for the turnout. Yeah. And then you had this dupe come along on the day of his advertised event. They create their own event. They joined in on his train. Is that what you're telling me?
That's the way it appears to me.
And then the CDA press came and gave them the photo op and took their
They got
quotes.
a picture of Terry Seymour, that KCRCC darling, the one that works for Russ Fulcher as well. She's everywhere. And Nina Beasley was also in the background.
There are a couple of our political influencers. Yeah. Local political influencers.
So, anyway, Mike, sorry that you got, I guess, gypped on that whole deal. But if you are in the area and you like patriotic supplies, flags, T-shirts, mugs, even I purchased from Mike my Blackbeard Mantis X system from him. Mm-hmm. And so, Mike will hook you up. And it's good to be promoting or supporting those that, are fighting the same fight for liberty without compromise, those that protect liberty at all costs. So anyway.
Yeah. Mike, if you're doing another Trump train coming up or whenever those resume, you can put that in the comment and I'll stick it up on the screen.
One other plug. Mm-hmm. Survival Industries, way up there in Hayden off of Government Way.
Yeah.
Angie has been very good to us as well. So if you are in need of different prepping supplies, go on up there and take a look at what they have to offer as well. So
Well, what else you got?
I'm plumb out. We have no questions.
That
People
never
I know, but
happens.
everybody's like
I
completely.
think they got scared when we lost the feed for 30 seconds.
or they.
Jim's over on YouTube. He's like, "Yeah, you were gone for 30 seconds. 30 seconds, but you're back."
Thanks, Jim.
I don't know. We're out here in the sticks. So what do you?
Plus,
expect?
I didn't have my good paper because that other flimsy crap. I'm just completely out of
Wait. Yeah, do not get paper, no matter how desperate you are.
We need to
From
ban
the Dollar
store.
General.
Anything dollar needs to be banned.
Terry Martinez says Mike is the best. Go to Patriot Hangout off of Neater in Coeur d'Alene.
Niter? We should ask Catherine Bedford. Or is it Doreen?
It's Doreen.
Yeah, Doreen will set us straight because she's lived here for 80 years.
Doreen's lived here for 83 years, so she knows how to pronounce Neater.
Hey, Mike, do you have any Colonel Sanders ties? If you don't, you may want to get them. I hear that those Colonel Sanders Western ties are trending.
They're selling like hotcakes. They're trending.
They're trending.
So, Mike, you need to get the Colonel Sanders ties in your shop at Patriot Hangout.
I'm kind of hankering some Kentucky Fried Chicken now after that.
The
Finger looking
KFC
good.
and mashed potatoes. All right, thank you for joining us for the Liberty Without Compromise live stream broadcast tonight. If you're listening back on our podcast or a video replay, remember you can catch us live on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. That's either on Facebook, YouTube, or X. Learn more and purchase apparel at libertywithoutcompromise.com. And for our podcast, you can listen and subscribe wherever you get your shows. Thank you again to our sponsor for tonight's program, Stella's Stogies on Main Street in Spirit Lake.
Yeah, hold me a couple more of those Olmecs. I'm going to be coming up for them. In fact, I think I'm going to burn one right now. Stay strong and of good courage. We'll see you next week, same time, same place. Thanks for participating.